Alright, what is up guys? JaretCampisi here, coming back at you from Koups Ducati. So they just got their first V4 model in. It is a Panigale V4S, and I thought it would be cool to come down here, do a little walk around, first impressions. Jim, the manager, said he can even start it up for us. You can check out the dash, hear what it sounds like, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So, 2018 Ducati V4 Panigale S. If you don't know anything about Ducati, one of the biggest things that they have done for the past 60 years or so is they made super bikes with V-twin, or as they call them, L-twin engines. So this is the first ever mass-produced V4 engine bike. So what does that mean? It means the whole thing's been pretty much completely redesigned from the top down. You've got a V4 engine in this thing making 214 horsepower. That's to the crank. If you add the Koups full system exhaust on here, you're getting 226 horsepower out of a street legal motorcycle, which is pretty freaking insane. Another thing that this bike has that no other street bike has ever had in the world or in history is a counter-rotating crankshaft. It sounds, you know, crazy, but really all it means is when the wheels are spinning, it creates gyroscopic forces. That's actually what keeps the bike upright while you're riding it. Well, the crankshaft actually just rotates the opposite direction, because the same forces that keep you upright while you're riding are the same forces that make it hard to quickly throw the bike back and forth at a track or in twisties or anything like that. So having a crankshaft that's going the opposite direction is going to make it easier to go back and forth. And even though it's picked up some weight over its V-twin 1299, 1299 was coming in around 420 pounds on the street. This one's coming in around 430 pounds, so it picked up a little bit of weight. But all the journalists that were riding this bike at the Valencia launch basically said it feels like a 600 because of how easily it is to flick back and forth. Another reason that probably the handling feels better is it now has a front frame. The V-twin Panigales pretty much didn't have a frame at all. This one now does have a frame, and even though it makes the bike a little bit fatter, what it's going to do is it's going to add flex to the motorcycle. So, you know, I spent a lot of time riding the 959, the 1199, the 1299. They're really fun bikes to ride, super rowdy and very adrenalizing, if that's a word. But they do give you a lot of feedback because, like I said, everything's just bolted onto the engine. So you feel everything on the road, it slides out very easily. It's just kind of a tough bike to ride. So from everything that I've been reading about this one is it's a lot easier to ride, it's a lot smoother, it hangs in curves a lot easier. It just doesn't give you quite as much feedback, and it just feels a little bit safer. For this model, they made it 1100 cc, so they bumped up the cc, and the reason they did that is to give you more torque on the road, and so and a little bit more bottom end power, which is again where you need it on the street. So also, from what I've been reading about reviews and stuff I've watched, this is super smooth. So if you've ever ridden a big L-twin engine, especially the 1299, anything under 20 miles per hour, the bike absolutely hates. So even if you're in the lowest gear, first gear, it just kind of feels chuggy. It feels like it almost wants to shut off. That's just the nature of having an L-twin engine that makes, you know, 200 horsepower. With the V4, that's kind of all been done away with. So much smoother, much easier to ride. The handling's insane, but I think that they did have to sacrifice some stuff looks-wise. So, you know, as you can see, completely redesigned fairing setup. What they're calling this fairing setup is a dual-layer fairing. They said that it's shaped by the wind, so in a wind tunnel, there's some sort of reasoning for why everything is where it is. But in my opinion, on the side of the bike, some angles the bike looks amazing, some angles the bike looks not so good. You know, as you see from the side, the frame is kind of the first thing you notice. If you go around to the front though, the front looks really good. It looks really pulled down, really low, really mean. Every model now comes with full LED lighting, which is really cool. You have the light strips and then your actual lights in here. One thing I'm not a huge fan of is low beams is one side, high beams is both. I wish they would have just done both no matter what, but I guess that's kind of a hard thing to get around. This is an S model, so it comes with the Marchesini forged aluminum lightweight wheels and some other pieces. This used to be carbon, but now it's just a black piece on these models. It also comes with full Öhlins suspension on this model. So, and actually it's Öhlins EC Smart 2, which means they've upgraded the suspension. So they also moved the shock. So the shock is now underneath the bike instead of alongside of it. The tank got a little bit fatter up here. One thing that's really cool about the tank though, two things that's cool about the tank. One, obviously the shape has changed. I'm not a huge fan of how fat it is, but it does give you a little bit more to hang on to. Also, the tank actually comes down underneath the seat. So a lot of the gas sits underneath the seat, changes where your weight is on the bike. The lower your weight, the better. So that's another reason that it handles so well. Also, you got easy access to your batteries. This just pops up. All your electronics, your battery, everything's stored underneath here. So that's really, really nice for people who work on bikes, like our custom series, stuff like that. And then I'll twist the key just so you can see what the dash looks like. It's a brand new 5-inch TFT color display. As you can see, it looks absolutely phenomenal. They've added all kinds of electronics onto this bike. You now have slide control, upgraded version of slide control. You've got backing it in control. You can literally slam on the rear brake, get the wheel to slide out. The slide control will keep your wheel wherever you're at, and it won't allow you to high side. Some of the journalists are saying it's basically like crash proof. Coming around to the rear side, you've got this beautiful tail end. You can see now that the brake and turn signal goes all the way around. I think the tail section, like I said, phenomenal. I love how aggressive it looks. I like the wind going through that area right there. It looks really, really cool. Even things like this, like the tail fender, like just looks really sweet how they did it, how they cut it out. The tires are new Diablo Super Corsa SPs, so they're actually a little bit fatter. They're 200 by 60. You get a lot more grip along the side, and I think they look absolutely incredible. They were actually designed just for this model, which is really, really cool. And of course, a single-sided swing arm with the Marchesini forged aluminum lightweight wheels looks freaking awesome. Exhaust is still underneath. They did create new exhaust canisters. They look different from the old models. You know, that's open to opinion. I think the old ones looked a little bit better, maybe a little bit smaller, but most people swap out the exhaust anyway. Even the engine case cover is different now, which at first I didn't like, but now it's growing on me. Things that haven't changed: rear sets, still the exact same setup. 1299 rear sets will still work. Same with the grips, the levers, that stuff's all the same. Even the mirrors are pretty much the same. They did upgrade the brakes, which really didn't need it, but they did it anyway. So these are the new Brembo Stylema brake setup. It's still a mono block caliper, but now you've got a little bit more heat transfer. So you can see it's actually a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, but supposedly it transfers heat better. You get less brake fade and a little bit more stopping power, as if you needed it. You totally didn't. But yeah, and then if you want to see the front end with the lights on, there's the light strips. They look really, really good, actually. I do like the front end a lot. So one other thing I just wanted to show you guys was the seating position. It feels about the same height-wise. It is a tad bit wider, so I'm 5'10". I can just about flat-foot it. But again, it still feels super light, even though it did gain a couple of pounds, but not a big deal. One other thing that I do want to mention is the riding position. So it's still pretty leaned over, but actually it feels a little bit more comfortable, a little less aggressive, a little less weight on my hands. And one of the reasons for that, I think, is because the tank is a little bit fatter, and even though it might not look the best, it does give you a little bit more grip. It gives you something to grip onto. On the twin Panigales, they were so thin that there was really nowhere to kind of squeeze when you're riding it, so a lot of your weight ended up being on your wrist. It's really not where you want it. So you know, longer rides and stuff like that, it did get a little bit uncomfortable. But you know, these aren't commuting bikes. But you know, from everyone that I saw that took these bikes out, they said for a super bike, it was actually very comfortable. So yeah, this is how I look at it. 5'10", 175 pounds. Like I said, it feels really, really good. I like how it feels. I think everything's where it should be. And yeah, that's how it looks. That's how it feels. A little bit about the bike. Now let's get Jim to start it up for us. That beautiful dash. So ridiculous. And literally every electronic you could possibly have in a bike. Wheelie control, traction control, slide control, everything else. So here you go.
was great.
So what's crazy about this engine is even though it's a V4, it has twin pulse firing order. So at low RPMs, it actually kind of sounds like a twin. Didn't it kind of remind you of a, it kind of sounds like a twin. And some of the journalists said you don't really get that different V4 sound until you get higher up in the RPM. So I'm glad Jim gave it a nice rev for us. Obviously it's cold, so we don't want to be revving it too much, but freaking insane, guys. So there you go. There's first impressions and walk around and startup of the Panigale V4S 2018 model. Again, this one is actually for sale here at Koups Ducati. I'd imagine it's going to go very, very fast. So if you're interested, definitely come on down, tell them I sent you. And yeah, there you go, guys. Let me know your thoughts and your feelings in the comment section below. What do you think about the Panigale V4? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you like about it and why? And I think that's about it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys in the next one.